right, YouTube. Welcome back to another episode here at WILDMAN Lifts. I'm your host, WILDMAN. And on today's episode, I brought back my friend Frank, the carnivore guy. In case you don't remember him, he's a guy that not just eats only meat, but strictly reduces maybe like 80 to 90% of your meal consumption involves meat.
Oh, yeah.
Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
With the occasional cold stone, as we've also found out.
Yeah, and whiskey.
And whiskey. So today, he's joining me for today's session, and we're going to be doing the axle deadlift, but we're going to be adding chains to the implement, which will be cool for you because I don't think you've ever done that before.
No, I've never trained with chains.
Okay. Yeah,
it was rough. That was rough.
Now, I'm also going to see if I can get Frank to lift the circus dumbbell, which it's intimidating all by itself, but it really isn't because it's only 80 pounds. So you should be able to lift 80 pounds. It's just getting past the mindset to do it and mastering the technique. So we're going to start you off with some lower dumbbells as we're going up in weight on the axle deadlift. And then eventually we're hoping by your top set that you'll feel comfortable doing this after you lifted a lot of weight on this. Sound
awesome. Good? Yeah. So I'm doing two things that I've never tried before.
Yes. Oh, and jump rope.
I've tried that.
Yeah, but we're definitely doing jump ropes. So let's pop into today's workout. Let's get this started. Okay, so for today's episode, I'm going to be a little bit all over the place because not only do I have to worry about my own workout, but I also have to coach Frank on pretty much just the deadlift, but also how to teach him how to lift the circus dumbbell. So teaching him what's normal, what's comfortable, how to get familiar with the dumbbell by starting off with these lighter dumbbells, which is a little bit harder to do because the circus dumbbell, because it's so thick, you've got less range of motion, but because it's so thick, it wants to roll off your shoulders. So we're kind of dealing with two different difficulties here. So I'm mainly just going to coach Frank what I expect him to do. But again, this isn't about the weight. This is about priming your nervous system for the deadlift because this is a great movement that gets your fibers and your muscles warmed up and to move explosively for this, which is going to be the axle deadlift. Something that Frank has done before, but he's never used chains on the axle before. And for me, I'm going to hit a number that I've never hit on the axle bar before with the chains on, which is going to be 490 pounds total at the end of this workout. But I am going to get, as we kind of get into a synchronized movement here, as we're working in tandem with the implements, I'm going to leave that circus dumbbell unloaded the entire time. So it's going to be 80 pounds in weight. And then I'm going to add 50 pounds of chains total to the axle bar. So that's going to make it a lot easier at the bottom, but a lot heavier at the top. And the idea is we know for a fact that we can lift the weight to our knees, and then we know we have to grind it out to the top, which overloads the movement at the top and gets us comfortable with lifting big weights that we haven't achieved quite yet. So I typically don't like to coach and do a workout that I'm kind of get myself psyched up for at the same time, because it is a lot of pressure and I kind of get lost in the sauce when I'm trying to coach and focus on my own movements. But fortunately for me, Frank's a quick learner and I've trained him in the past. So I don't really have to do much for his deadlift training. It's just primarily focusing on getting him comfortable with the circus dumbbell. So now he's moving up to a heavier dumbbell. And again, we're just going to kind of take it little by little, make sure that his form is good. So as he's getting up in weight, he feels comfortable handling that circus dumbbell once he gets up to that courage to lift it. So now you can see we've got a pretty good rhythm going here where one person's doing the circus dumbbell, one person's deadlifting, and the other person is going to jump rope because that's going to be the strength giant set. But all these movements are primarily just formatted to get us ready to lift heavy on the deadlift, which you're going to see proves to work because Frank ends up hitting a big weight that he's never hit before as a result. So I'm telling you, giant strength training, it's a great way to get ready for the big weights that you're trying to focus on and also get a really good workout at the exact same time. And then you could do it with a buddy. So you could do it by yourself or you could do it with a buddy. And either way, you're just having fun as you're going up in weight. And if you're wondering why Frank is not wearing a shirt, and I am, it was very hot. So it made more sense to be shirtless. However, as Frank will discover, it's a lot harder to lift the circus dumbbell when you're sweaty and the circus dumbbell wants to roll off your back just because it's already so big in size. So having a shirt on is much more beneficial. But speaking of that, now Frank was beginning to feel comfortable going up to the circus dumbbell and giving it a try. So what I like to teach people when I'm doing the circus dumbbell is once they get it up, keep a hand on it and then press it up just using that other hand to guide it up. Mainly just that'll get you comfortable with the balance and everything in case you're not familiar with it, because it can be quite awkward sitting on your shoulder. So Frank's doing that for now, looking pretty good. You can see he's strong enough. It's only 80 pounds, and Frank is definitely strong enough to press it without having to use any body English into it. But again, the point is to try to wake up the body. And then when you do want to go heavy on the circus dumbbell, you most definitely and assuredly want to make sure you're using your whole entire body to lift it, because that's the only way you're going to get it up. Shoulder strength is going to stop, especially when you're at an awkward angle that's on. So this is Frank's set before he gets to his top set, which I was not really sure what he was going to do, because I definitely programmed him to hit 370 because I think 370 is his max. And obviously the chains is going to make it a little bit easier because you're starting to lift that 370 as you get to the top of the lift. But he moved that pretty quick and pretty efficiently. So now it's just kind of a guessing game to make sure that he hits the weight that he wants to hit. So that's what we were kind of planning out as we were going up in weight. So now I'm really proud of Frank right here, because now he's actually going to remove that hand away and press it the way it should be. Still a little bit more shoulder strength than he is using his body, but again, it's only 80 pounds. So he's got the strength to do it. He wasn't quite comfortable yet doing it with his left hand, which is makes sense because the left hand, it's like throwing a baseball with your offhand. It's not really necessarily in strongman, but I like to keep it both pretty even on both arms just in case, because I don't like to have that unevenness when I'm lifting weight. So now we're coming up to Frank's top set, which is going to be a PR for him because he's never used chains before on the axle bar, so that's not the PR. But this is going to be the most amount of weight he's ever lifted from the ground, and it's an axle bar, very hard to get off the ground, and it went very smooth. It actually looked a lot harder in person than it does on the video. In the video, it looks like he could go up maybe another 10 or 20 pounds, which is a possibility. But that wasn't the point of today. The point was he got a PR and he learned a new movement, the circus dumbbell. So he was set and he was very proud of that. And I'm very proud of him too, because I haven't worked with him in a very long time. And it shows that he's practicing my principles still, even when he's away from me. Now, this is my set before my top set. And I really wanted this to go very fast. And boop, it does. It went super quick, because the idea was the last time I did deadlift, I did 440 pounds on the axle bar and I was on a deload period. So I kind of just went up to what felt comfortable. And that time it felt comfortable. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those chains to 440 pounds. Now that it's been like a couple weeks later. And I know I'm going to be able to lift it because I was able to lift it on the deload side. So now I'm going to overload it. And the idea is to get to 490 pounds. I was really flirting with the 500 pounds, but that's going to be another time, because this right now would be stellar. And it went up super fast. I thought it was going to be a lot harder, and it wasn't. So I pulled it like it was going to be super heavy, and it ended up just flying up. So I was very happy with that. And me and Frank both hit PRs. Now, for the variation giant set, we were going to do 3 rounds, and we were going to continue to do the circus dumbbell and the jump ropes in between. But I'm mainly going to show you this, which is the snatch grip deadlift with an axle bar. So the axle bar, because it's thick and it doesn't bend, it doesn't have any knurling. We were kind of having some trouble with this because the straps were kind of sliding around every time we went up. And I'm demonstrating this to Frank. So I'm demonstrating if we just do straight reps, that's a great way to use a snatch grip deadlift. But I'm trying to do this in single deadlift format, as you see me do, because the first rep on a deadlift is always the hardest. So if you can get it up to your waist on the first rep, that you could probably grind out a second or third rep, even if it was very difficult for you to get that first rep completed. Reason being is once you're at the top, you could reset your brace and then you could just lower it down like Frank just did. And that makes it a whole lot easier to lift, which it's good to train like that. Don't get me wrong. But my attitude towards it is if you can't even do one deadlift to get to those second and third to grind it out, then you're not going to be able to deadlift at all. So it's really good to practice from the ground and occasionally just switch it up. So the snatch grip deadlift, you could do for reps where you just maintain that brace and get your air at the top and just lower it down. Or you can do it in single deadlift format where you're completely letting go of your brace, resetting, and then getting it off the floor in that manner. And since I'm trying to get better at the single deadlift for 1 rep, because I want to be able to hit big weight on a 1 rep, not really concerned about reps. That's why I'm completely decompressing and letting go of all the weight at the bottom and trying to make sure that I'm teaching my body how to do that. While at the same time, the snatch grip deadlift absolutely destroys your back. And you can see we've got that rhythm going again, where one of us is doing the circus dumbbell, the other one is working actively on the snatch grip deadlift. And then when we're done, we just simply switch. And then he was able to get up to my weight level again. So this is going to be Frank's top set on the snatch grip deadlift. And again, because there's no knurling on the bar, because the axle bar doesn't have any knurlings, there's only a little bumpy little grip tape on there. Our hands were constantly sliding to and from. And that was the primarily reason why we were not getting it to stick functionally, but eventually we did. Eventually, we were able to kind of just reset after every single movement, get our hands right, and then do it correctly. So now we're coming up to my top set, which is going to be 300 pounds. And I don't really care about PRing on a snatch grip deadlift. To me, it's kind of like the incline bench press, where it's kind of a secondary movement to get better at the flat barbell bench press. So this is something that I'm doing to improve the deadlift because A, it's the same format and the same setup as a deadlift. But because your hands are out wider, you have to get a little bit lower into a deficit. You can't be as upright as you want to be like on a regular deadlift. And it's absolutely destroying that upper back. So it's really going to improve all the muscles and all of the moving mechanics that are necessary to improve the deadlift. And I see a lot of major deadlifters doing this, and that's why I've kind of implemented it. And I feel like that's why my deadlift is going up. And just to prove that I was going up in weight, as I was going up in weight, I should say, I was continuing to do that circus dumbbell, which now is getting a lot slower because now I'm getting tired. So before I was using it to prime my central nervous system to lift big, but now that I've lifted big, now I'm just kind of doing it through a conditioning fashion. And of course, the jump ropes. And you can see it's absolutely hot because I'm sweating all over. Now, for the assistance giant set, Frank, you can see, is not pleased with this because this is going to be a lot of work. But mainly, we're just trying to move. And we've already worked the big muscles. So now it's time to just finish them off. So we're doing 3 rounds and we're carrying that tire. And that tire isn't very heavy, it's just awkwardly big. So now that my upper back has been activated from the snatch grip deadlifts, now I'm just kind of activating a little bit more. And nothing activates those muscles better than a heavy, weird object that you have to pick up. Now I'm teaching Frank the look backs, which I did on my last video. This is something that I learned from a top elite deadlifter, where basically you're doing like a Romanian deadlift, but you have a staggered step and you're rotating. So it destroys your obliques, but it also activates all those muscles that you just did on the deadlift and really improves them. So I'm just showing Frank how to do that. And then, of course, weighted sit ups because I'm trying to make sure that my hips are getting loose and kind of getting finished off at the very end. And I feel like that the weighted ab mat sit up does that. So now here goes Frank. Yeah, you can see the tire. No problem for him. Again, it's just something that's going to activate the upper back. And as you're walking, it's going to activate your conditioning. And we're already tired from all the lifting and how hot it is outside. So this is just something for us to just kind of move gingerly through and to kind of just finish off all those big muscles that we've already fatigued. So now that I've demonstrated everything to Frank, now we can kind of get into our rhythm where one person is doing one movement and the other person is doing another movement. And we can just work in tandem, making sure that we're getting everything that we're supposed to and that we can move efficiently through the workout now that he knows what to do and he's not like second guessing. But this looks pretty good. Frank's going to really appreciate that movement as his deadlifts go up. And moving in circadian rhythms like this really brings the brohood even stronger. I don't know. I just said that, but we'll see. Now for the accessory giant set, we're doing 3 rounds, and I'm showing Frank how to do a supinated curl with the rope, which you've seen many times on my channel, just to activate those biceps. They're already a little fatigued because we've already overloaded them with a lot of heavy movement from all the deadlifting and circus dumbbells that we were doing. And then I would do hitchhikers, and again, we're moving in tandem again. Beautiful right there. Make sure we're getting that shoulder longevity in there and that they're staying healthy. And then I was showing him how to do single leg hip bridges. And this is also something that works really well with the bench press because it kind of teaches leg drive. So I'm showing him how to do a single leg format of the hip bridge and then to immediately move into the hip bridge once he's done with that. And that was the total workout after a very hot day. Alrighty, well, I'm tired.
Yeah, you're drenched in sweat.
If you couldn't tell, I'm a touch fatigued right now. But that was an overall good workout. Did you enjoy it?
It was phenomenal. First time I hit 400 on the deadlift.
This is true. Yeah, with an axle bar, no doubt, which is very stiff at the bottom.
Yeah.
Very hard to get a good bend in it, so you can kind of cheat the rep a little bit on a barbell. Axle bar, no joke. It's super stiff. It doesn't move off the ground very well. It's not very friendly.
No, no, it's not. But it felt good. I didn't have any sticking points. Like you said, when you were watching me, that was definitely a maximum amount of effort that I had for that one rep. But it's definitely inspired me to try that again, but with a straight, strict 405, no chains. Hopefully, within the next month and a half, I'll be back over here with him.
Cool. And if you train like how we were doing today, all of those improve the deadlift overall. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
Really appreciate everybody stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed watching us die together. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.